You're listening to the Business Brain Food Podcast. This is episode 147.
Welcome to the Business Brain Food Podcast, the show business owners listen to when they want to take their business to the next level. Head to businessbrainfood.com.au to catch up on past episodes and access show notes from every interview. Now, here's your host, Ben Futrell.
Well, g'day and welcome back to the Business Brain Food Podcast, my friend. This is the podcast that's 157% devoted to taking you and your business to the next level. And the good thing is, doesn't matter what level you're at, whether you're just scratching that entrepreneurial itch and starting a brand new business, or you're like myself and you've been in business for a long, long time, there's always something new we can do to take our business to the next level. And today is absolutely no different. In fact, today I'm surprised I remembered this, but I've got Tansel Ali coming on the show. And you're probably wondering, why did I say that? Well, Tansel Ali is the 4-time Australian memory champion and an executive memory coach. And today we're going to be talking to Tansel about how to remember things, or how to train yourself to be better at memorising things. You go, well, why would I want to remember more things? Well, it can help you de-stress, become more effective, more productive, a better communicator, a better leader. So many added benefits to having a great memory. Not just to the fact that you will be remembering the things you need to do or get done, or remembering or recalling people's names or things that are important, but also the fact that it helps to, clear up your mind and focus on the things you need to focus on. So we'll get Tansel on very shortly, but just a bit of a spoiler alert, this guy's amazing, and he remembered over 2,000 business entries in the Yellow Pages in just over a couple of weeks. He was able to remember that and recall all the businesses and their phone numbers. And he's going to share with you exactly how he did it, how he went about doing that. He also did 2 degrees at the same time, and he's going to share with you how he topped the class using this particular technique. So I think you're going to love it. And I know you're going to love it. And I know that you're going to be able to apply it to your business. Now, if you're brand new to the Business Brain Food Podcast, welcome, and so glad to have you hanging out here with us. This is episode 147. So if you've got a few to catch up on, you can go back and listen to those later, because I know, first of all, you want to get stuck into this episode because it's fantastic. And if you're a long-time listener, welcome back. So great to have you here. I just want to remind you, if you are enjoying the Business Brain Food Podcast, to jump into the iTunes store and help me out. This is where I'm asking you for a favour. Go and leave a review or rating in the iTunes store. Take a screen capture of that review, or just copy and paste it and send it to ben@maxmyprofit.com.au. And as a special thank you, I'm going to give you access to a 1-hour user experience training. That's the 3 things that you must have on your website sorted so the user experience is a positive one and you'll convert more of your visitors into leads or customers. So all you got to do is go and leave an honest review or rating in the iTunes store, and then give us an email at ben@MaxMyProfit. And the reason we do that is because sometimes your username is not clear who it is, and we can't email you from that. So by sending us an email at ben@maxmyprofit.com.au, I am then able to send you a link to watch this exclusive 1-hour training that is only available to our members. So you're going to get exclusive access, and thanks to you, those who already have done it, and we'd love for you to do it as well. So you can do that, get access to that training, and you're going to be helping me by leaving that review, because it helps our rankings inside the iTunes store. All right, now let's get stuck straight into today's guest. As I said, Tansel Ali, 4-time Australian memory and champion, most famously known as for memorising 2 Yellow Page phone books he did it in 24 days. And I quizzed him about that because I was interested to know. He's also an international best-selling author, so you'll hear about his books at the end and how to get a hold of those books. One of them's got an amazing name that you'll never forget. Tansel is a sought-after keynote speaker and memory coach. He's been featured on all sorts of award-winning TV documentaries. The one in particular that I know of is Redesign My Brain. In the show, he coached TV celebrity Todd Sampson to significantly improve his memory in weeks. He did it in just weeks. And then he successfully competed at the World Memory Championships in London. So if he can teach the TV celebrity Todd to do it, he can teach anybody to do it. No disrespect to Todd, but I don't think Todd had ever thought about doing this. He also possesses those 2 master's degrees I spoke about in IT, plus an MBA, and has over 20 years experience helping and inspiring individuals and organisations to succeed. He's also a business owner himself. So throughout this interview, you're going to hear how he applies what he knows about, or what his skill is, to his business to help him do better. So without any further delay, let's get him on to the Business Brain Food Podcast.
Learn more to earn more.
Well, welcome to the Business Brain Food Podcast, Tansel.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's great, Craig. Sorry, Ben.
Look, I'm surprised you remembered to be here.
and I'm only joking, obviously. Yeah, no, it's great to be here. Yeah, and just share as much knowledge and passion of what we're doing as we can.
Yeah, good stuff. Now, before I do get into chatting about your special talent, which I think the listeners are going to absolutely love today, absolutely going to. I know I'm going to love it. I can't wait to get some tips. Before we do that, though, if I already think that what you do is quite quirky, but that doesn't matter. You're still going to get asked this question that I ask every guest, and that is for you to share something quirky about yourself.
It's time for something quirky. And now, something quirky.
Yeah, well, something quirky about me. I do collect playing cards, and the reason for that is I've entered memory competitions all around the world, and I've got currently over about 30 decks of playing cards that I memorize. So I guess that's quirky.
Yeah, it is quite quirky. I mean, and what I've actually I was doing some reading about that, and if I was to shuffle a deck of playing cards and then you have a look at them, you can remember what order they're in. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Wow. Okay. And also, and I thought this was quirky, I also read that you actually memorised the entire Australian Yellow Pages. Is that true?
Sort of, yeah. It was Sydney Yellow Pages, so outside of Australia.
Oh,
we consider Melbourne as Australia here.
Not as impressive, just Sydney. Come on. Well, let's get stuck into that, because I think, it's interesting. People in business all over the world are probably, struggling sometimes to remember not just people's names, but things they've got to get done. And we live in a very, very busy world these days. So having a great memory is a huge asset. When did you first realise you had this amazing talent to be able to remember or have such a, vast memory?
Yeah, it's funny you mention that, because I never really believed it. I was a big skeptic of memory improvement, and I used to watch a lot of late night TV back in the day, and there's shows like David Letterman, and I'd see these memory guys, experts, get on the show and memorize people's names and show them how they remember 14 list of items. I thought, no, these guys are just fake. They just want to sell their cassette tapes that they've created, and they just want to make money anyway. I came across a friend and he said he can memorize like these guys. And I said, well, what do you mean? I have to test you now. So I tested him out and he memorized everything. And I thought, whoa, what's the trick? Because I thought it was like a magic trick of some sort. He must have had thin paper up his, maybe in his sleeves, something like that. And he said, no, it's not a trick or anything. It's just memory techniques. I'm like, techniques? Well, what is that? So I researched on memory techniques and read a couple of books and stuff and found myself memorizing things. I'm like, well, it can't be this simple, surely. I didn't learn anything at school in relation to these techniques. How am I learning about it after I finished university, right? So that's how I got involved. And as soon as I started using a few of the techniques, they just work straight away. Yeah.
Yeah, I can only imagine how well they must work for. I'm surprised they don't teach people this at school.
Well, they don't. It's quite staggering. Again, once I got into it, I thought, why don't we learn this at school? It's not rocket science. It's not difficult to teach. Why isn't it? And from then on, I started training people in these memory techniques because I did it mostly from frustration. So I started working with dyslexic kids and students that just couldn't learn, and we found that their studies their grades just went through the roof with just knowing a few simple strategies. Dyslexic kids learned how to spell and did not struggle at school, and we thought, well, hang on, I'm not even a teacher, and I'm showing these skills. So there was a huge change in just knowing the strategy. So my mission from then on is to say, okay, I just have to get this out to as many people as I can. And that's what I've been doing for the last 15 years.
Yeah. Now, in what applications have you found this really handy? Because I can imagine not everyone has an ambition of winning the World Memory Championships. Of course, it's an important skill to have there. But in your life, what examples can you tell us where having an amazing memory or the ability to remember things has helped you?
Yeah, it's really fascinating because when we think of memory, we think of remembering or recalling certain things. And then we look at applications that require recall, like could be studies or it could be people's names, car keys, things like that. But once you get deeper involved in memory or once you start training it, then you realize there's a greater depth to it. So I just finished a project with creating a mental health app. And in there, I talk about how to use memory techniques to pretty much get rid of sadness and depression and anxiety and how to reduce stress and how to manage time better. So all these memory skills that you train for, it actually helps for that as well. Not to mention all the other things like enhancing creativity, reading faster with greater comprehension, even improving leadership skills and things like that. So there's such a broad range of skills that can improve with training and memory. Now, I see it exactly like physical training. Once we do physical training, we know because we see the change, right? But when you train mentally, you don't see anything. So that's the difficulty with measuring that sort of training. Memory training is, well, what's the change? But once you start getting involved, then you realize, wow, I'm getting smarter. I'm able to do things that I'm not able to do before. So that's the real essence and improvement with training your memory.
Yeah, do you find that people are getting lazier with their brains in 2017? Because I feel like I am, Tansel, because you've got CRMs, you've got apps on your phone, like with the reminders. You've got Siri. I mean, Siri does most of my memory for me. So if I need to be reminded, I get her to do it for me. Do you find that people are getting lazier, though, with memory?
Yeah, look, I can't speak for everyone, but yeah, look, we tend to outsource all those things that we used to do before. Like I remember people always say to me, look, I used to remember, all these telephone numbers before. Now, because they're stored in my phone, I don't get to remember everything, things like that. But it all comes down to us as well. The onus is on us, not the technology. We tend to blame technology and things like that, that we're not progressing. But really, the onus is on us. So we need to be able to know how to use our brain so we can improve our everyday way of life or our work and things like that. So yeah, it's easy to say, yeah, Siri can do stuff, but if they can do it, then we're freed up to do other things as well. So we have to look at more of the benefits rather than, okay, I'm not using my research skills, or I'm not using something else and because I'm using Siri. So it's all about, okay, what's the next step forward for us? Because years ago, it used to be about the accumulation of information and data. It's like, okay, I have to research this stuff and get this. Now, all we have to do is type in, Google search, and we've got that information. So where we're up to now is, what can we do with that information? It's not about gathering the information. It's about what can we do with it, and that's the challenge that we have. Is that next step is, okay, how do I impact? How do I create real value from the information that's already there?
Yeah, and you know what? I think it's great, Tansel. You've taken this talent and you've gone, you know what? I'm going to use this for good, not for evil, because I'm sure it must be interesting. Because I know I was doing some research, which I do on all my guests before you jump on. You're married to a psychologist.
Yes.
And I read somewhere that you said that it was quite ironic because you teach people to remember things and she's teaching people to forget things. But do you ever find that you guys, there's times in your life where you go, no, I remember you said you were going to do, like, do you use it to your advantage at some point?
Oh, look, when you're married, you concede defeat anyway. So, yeah, I don't even bother. Even though I'm 200% right, you just don't you don't play that game.
The boss is always the boss is always
That's right.
Yeah, I understand. I'm a married man myself, Tansel. Now tell me, you memorised the Sydney Yellow Pages. How many pages, or how many? Yeah, I think there's a lot of pages in that book.
There's over 2,300 businesses, and that's across probably just over about similar type of number of pages. The Sydney one's twice as big as Melbourne, so it was quite a challenge. But ended up completing it, which was nice.
Yeah. Now you've won the 4-time. You're a 4-time winner of the Australian Memory Championships. Is that right?
Yeah.
And this Yellow Pages thing is what you're probably most famously known for, is memorising 2 Yellow Pages phone books, and you did that in like a couple of weeks, apparently. Yeah,
I memorised it in about 18 days, and then I went back just to review it again. So it was all stuck inside the head. And, all up about 24 days it took me. So I could have done it a lot faster, but I learned a lot along the way. And it's not so much about, I've got an amazing memory or not, but what I learned was, I was really badly disciplined, had poor time management issues, all that sort of stuff. And by the end, that'll all sort itself out, because I had to have accountability, not just to the people that I was memorizing for, because a PR company approached me, but it was for the media, Australian media. So, they were going to test me. So my sense of accountability really went up, and I had to, make sure I actually, followed through with the challenge. So,
And
I learned a lot of stuff.
And what were they doing? Were they then asking you, hey, Tansel, what's on page 542 of book 2? Or is that what they were doing?
No, not so much with the page numbers, because that required a bit of extra effort, and would have been longer than 30 days, because that's how long I had. But what they said was just give a business name, and then I'd give the telephone number. Or if they can give a telephone number, I'd give them a business name. So that was a scenario which was still quite challenging, but we managed to pull it off. Yeah.
And what was your success rate of giving them the correct phone number?
I think I only made about a couple of errors, so which was really good considering. I thought I'd forgotten a lot of it, but
Mate,
I did.
That is amazing. So tell us a bit about how, because I know that this is a skill that anybody can use in their life. And like I said, you mentioned before a whole raft of benefits, whether it was leadership or de-stressing. I think de-stressing is a big one, because a lot of people get stressed about remembering things. And that's why I'm surprised they don't teach it in school, because kids are going through that. My daughter right now is doing her HSC, she's in year 11, so there's a lot of study going on. These techniques sound like they'd be awesome before you walk into an exam.
Yeah, look, once I learned these techniques, I went ahead and did 2 master's degrees, and did really well. And the colleagues that I taught these techniques to, they were getting 100% in their exams. Not 93, not 97, 100%. So these work really, really well. But not only does it help you gain knowledge a lot better, but you're going with a clear mind. Now, look at work, for example. We're stressed, we're tired, we've got, no time in quotes to do things. But as soon as you start employing these strategies like, visualization and, creating mental spaces to help you, have a clear mind, then suddenly you become more productive. So, performance is really increased with these techniques.
Yeah, so I'm interested to learn about how you actually go about doing this, because you said 18 days to memorize the yellow pages. I'm assuming that wasn't without sleep or without some leisure time. It wasn't 18 hours a day, was it? Or tell us a bit about the process of actually being able to do this. Yeah,
what I had to do first was I had to create a strategy. Because I couldn't just use the techniques and memorize away. Otherwise, I'd still be doing it today. But it was more about, okay, let's get the plan in place. Let's have a look at how often do I have to memorize every single day. I've already made the calculations on how long it's going to take me for an ad, and I made it roughly about 30 seconds. So the business name and the telephone number. In competition, we'd probably do that in about 5 seconds. But I just took the ceiling, the longest it was going to take me. Work out that I had to do about 60 ads in 1 hour, memorize them, and work out how many lots of them I had to do in a day. So sometimes I had to do 2 hours of memorizing a day, which was in hour chunks. Sometimes it was 10 hours because I'd missed a few days, so I slacked off. Those were the days where I really learned not to muck away, not to sort of stuff up. So. Yeah, it's just in chunks throughout the day, so I can obviously have do work, and there were times where I had to actually go to work, and I'm in the car park, memorizing away. All the meetings rooms were taken, things like that. So yeah, it was challenging, but once you get the timings right and the situation and get the plan right, it's just about proper execution.
So what is the actual strategy? So teach me, Tansel, I'm going to go to a networking event tonight, and I'm going to meet people, and I've got to remember their names. Have you got something you can teach me that will make it easy for me to remember everyone I meet?
Yeah, definitely. It's all about visualization and association. That's really the essence of memory. Once you know this skill, you can memorize anything. So you go ahead and meet people, right? Let's say you do meet a Craig. Right, I joked around before about your name was being Craig. Right, my cat's name's Craig.
Oh,
right?
really?
And so, yeah.
Craig the cat.
Craig, his brother Damo, he sort of left us early in the year, unfortunately. But yeah, Damo and Craig. So Craig, if I meet a Craig, for example, I'm going to picture my cat, maybe scratching him or something like that. So next time I walk around, I say, "Hang on, why is this guy being scratched by a cat?" Craig. So you make those little stories. If I meet a Sandra, I might picture sand in her hair. So it's just wordplay. That's all you're doing, and you're having a bit of fun, and that's it. That's really, it's not rocket science. I still hold the record in Australia for memorizing the most names, and that's all I do. So the people that I actually teach, they do better than me eventually, because that's all there is. It's just about using your imagination.
And do you have to repeat this in your head several times, or I mean, do you draw? So you draw a visual picture in your head of them being scratched or sand in the hair, or
Yeah, how memory works is you have to have the visual image in your head. If you just say it out, that doesn't really do much. But you have to have the visual image, and to take it to the next level, you're going to have to really create it or create an emotional connection to it. So, for example, if you want to remember where you put your keys, right? You just, what we usually do is chuck our keys on the table and off we go. It's a mindless act. But if we want to remember where we put it, then it's like you have to visualize those keys hitting the table. Maybe it makes a loud bang, right? So that's enough to give us a trigger in the brain because of that loud bang, right? So same thing with people. If we meet, Steve, this guy's so stiff that you shake his hand and, it's almost like you're shaking a pole or something like that, right? And you have to really visualize that. And, he's straight as a pole. So, yeah, you start visualizing those things. And everyone's stories are different. I guess you don't have to make it really exciting for other people. It's only for yourself. And that's how it generally works.
And how many of these, I mean, is this what you did with the Yellow Pages? Every business, did you create an association and a story?
That's all I did, yeah. So if there was Bob's Plumbing, for example, I'd imagine a guy bobbing up and down continuously, nonstop. He just can't help himself, right? He's bobbing up and down. So I had to create that visual really strong in my mind. If I just said a guy bobbing up and down, that wouldn't be enough, right? So I had to make it that he went on forever and he couldn't stop. And there's all these hundreds of people trying to help him, not Bob.
Poor Bob.
So, yeah, and you pick up a lot of these skills and it makes you more creative. So I've been doing it for 15 years. So I've got that level of creativity to do this really quick. But for someone starting out in memory, they have to train to get a lot faster and better. So when you are trying to remember a name, it is going to take you a bit of time to create these stories. But the more you do it, the faster you get and the better you get as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, amazing stuff. But so I would have thought the brain had a limit as to how many of these it could remember. But I'm imagining in the Sydney Yellow Pages, there was a lot of entries that you remembered. What was the total number of entries?
There was about 2,300 something. I can't remember. No, only kidding. 300 something. And yeah, look, it's not about limit. A lot of people ask me, well, isn't your brain full from all that?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm thinking. How big is your head?
It's like, how big's your head, But it's like, well, I just feel the same every day. It's not about, being smart or having a full brain. We don't feel full. It's like eating. Well, how much can you eat, really? Yeah, we feel full. But in our brain, it doesn't even feel like that. So we've got a lot of capacity now. We don't even use much of it anyway, do we? So, how much are we really going to fill? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what they say. We don't use any more than 10%. Have you have there been doctors or scientists meet with you to try and work out what it is you're actually doing, and have they come up with any answers or?
Yeah, I've had numerous TV documentaries and TV shows and all that sort of hook me up to machines and probes and whatever it is that they love to measure, and all they've found is that I just use the part of my brain that connects, I guess, both sides, so your left and right sides of the brain. So I just use more of it, right? And how to use more is just simply connecting abstract data, which is like names, for example. That doesn't mean anything to us, right? But if you connect that abstract data, like names, even languages, things that don't make sense, to images, right? So like I said with Craig, with the name, then suddenly you start to understand and remember, right? And a big thing as well with memory is that you can use it to read faster. So speed reading and improve comprehension. Well, if you take a look at how that's done, reading is just with words. Now, we're not taught how to read at school properly. We just stop at reading word by word. But in order to get to the next level, we have to read visually, right? And the reason why we have to read visually is so it can improve our comprehension. When we watch a movie, for example, how do we do it? Do we try and remember every single word in a dialogue? No, we just watch it, right, visually. But when we're reading, it's almost like a backward step. We have to try and encode the words into images. But that's not happening if we don't have any techniques. So we have to be able to encode into images, and then from there, that helps us along the way. So that's what really memory training does.
Yeah, amazing stuff. So, I mean, and reading's a good example of something that is going to help business owners, because they're going to be able to read and get more knowledge. What are some of the applications that you've seen where this is going to help somebody that's running a business, so we can get real practical about this? Because remembering names obviously is good. Being able to read a bit quicker is good. You talked about leadership before. I mean, you've worked with, you've worked with athletes, you've worked with, CEOs and business executives, you've worked with all sorts of people where you've coached them to use these skills. What have you seen as some of the biggest benefits?
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of benefits in business. I mean, I run a business myself, and the benefits I found was about value of time. To be honest, when you start to go into memory training, you realize what works and what doesn't, and what wastes time. So if you know what is effective in terms of connection, then you know how to communicate better, because you're not wasting. You're not putting together documentation or PowerPoint slides for the sake of it. You're actually, communicating the best possible way, or you're learning skills that are essential rather than, this is nice to have. So you know how to prioritize. You also know, because you know the value of time, you also know how to kill that procrastination, which is a big thing. I mean, if there's people working in front of the computer, it's so easy to procrastinate. And, we check emails, all throughout the day, things like that. So how does memory training help with that? We use skills such as visualization and connecting to our goals and connecting to, missions, things like that. And if you know how connection works, then you're able to do that a lot more effectively. So memory is really about effectiveness and improving quality rather than just something that you have to do. Which is, extra bit of work to get to where you want.
Yeah, it's sounding to me like the memory side. You haven't got an amazing memory. What you're great at is remembering or recalling the things that you want to recall. Because if I said to you, "What did you eat for dinner last?" August on the the 13th of August last year.
Kebab. Sorry, go on.
Even no hesitation. I love it. But that's something that's not really useful information. So are you only remembering what you need to remember? Is that because you're trained yourself to do that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And, why bother trying to remember those things anyway? It's not like you're going to use them in real life.
Yeah.
Doctor, you're in hospital and doctor says, look, we really need to know August 13, 2002, what you ate. That particular, I mean, come on, who's going to do that, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just things that you really need to do, and just get rid of the mental clutter. Because if you get rid of that mental clutter, even physical clutter, you're going to be much more focused. And that's what people are lacking as well, is that focus. They say, I haven't got time. I can't focus on this. Well, you can only get to focus if you get rid of all the clutter. Then you're able to do much, much better at work, business, everything else. Sometimes it's not a memory problem that people come to me for. It's actually a mental clutter. That's causing them to forget. Because if you got too many things on your mind, you get overwhelmed and you don't do anything, or you just forget. My wife's a classic example. She's got so many things on her mind that she forgets little things like leaving her phone at home, which you did yesterday, things like that, right? So it's all about, just getting rid of what you can get rid of, and then focusing on what you really need.
So it's interesting you touch on that, because I know I got in trouble, and it's happened a couple of times with my wife. We went out to the club for dinner. We had to go up to the bar and buy drinks, and I said to her, "Do you want a drink?" She said, "Yeah, I'd love a glass of wine." So off I went up to the bar, and I came back with one beer. And what's going on in my mind, Tansel, is my mind's pretty active, and I know a lot of business owners are the same. They're very entrepreneurial. We're thinking about what we've got to get done tomorrow. We're thinking about what deals are in our heads that are close to getting over the line. We're thinking about what opportunities we've got, what threats. We're excited about. I mean, people are listening to this right now going, right, I'm going to go away and do some memory training. So they're probably getting distracted right now as they're listening to this. What advice do you have for people that are in that space?
It's interesting, isn't it? Because it's like you get your hit of dopamine now. It's like, yeah, great. And then once you get back to it, it's all sort of gone. I always say, look, if you want to get into memory training, try and do the opposite thing. Like, go for an exercise or walk, or just don't do anything at all. For me, if I really want to get active or try and do something, I try and sort of, pause or get out of the zone for a minute. That just allows your brain to, adjust and focus. Like, for example, people will be listening to this now, right? When they leave, and if they don't do anything for a certain period of time, this information actually adjusts itself and puts itself into nice little pigeonholes. So it organizes itself, almost does like a mental defrag for all the IT people out there. And then when you get to that information later on, it's nice and neat and orderly, and it's a lot easier to manage mentally. So even just taking a break is very beneficial, right? If you want to get into it straight away, then it's about looking at just the one thing rather than looking at the whole picture of, okay, I'm going to get into memory. I'm going to do this, and this. Well, that'll get you to be bored very quickly straight away and lose interest as well. So I always say, just pick one thing, get into it, and then slowly build it up. Because that's how I learned. And, I'm still doing it after 15 years. And that didn't come because I wanted to do A, B, C, and D. I actually didn't do any application of memory, like remember names or things like that. I just did memory competitions for years. And then after that, when I built up the skill, then I was able to do everything that I wanted. So, yeah, it takes time, but I think that effort's important.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned before with the yellow pages, you had a strategy. So you said you worked out exactly what time you needed to do a lot to memorising each business, each phone number, and then creating a story. And I think that's probably key, isn't it, to being successful at this?
Yeah, you got to have a plan of attack. Look, you can go into it willy-nilly, but how far is that really going to get you? And it's up to your personal motivations as well. If you can see where it can lead you. I was fortunate enough to look at it from the education point of view, and I was really passionate about learning about stuff, learning languages, and doing the martial arts and things like that. So I was always had a passion for learning. So that's where that took me. But other people that I've been coaching, they sort of have a passion for, say, making money. So I show them how to make more money with, using memory techniques. Or people had passion for, fitness and how to get fit and lose weight. So, things like that, and teaching as well. Some people had a passion for teaching, so I show them how to use these strategies for that. So it really depends on, where your passions and interests lie. You don't necessarily have to have a passion, but because you can discover that along the way. But it's just about persistence, really.
And I think it's just about, like I said, getting started somewhere, isn't it? Just do something. Now, I mean, you were talking about, a lot of what you were talking about is recalling things when you need to recall them. So, for example, if I say to you, hey, what's the phone number for Bob's Plumbing? Then you'll be able to recall that number. But what about remembering things like, for example, if someone says, get the milk and the bread on the way home, there's going to be no one reminding me to recall that information when I'm on the way home. So does it work for that type of thing as well? Like, or maybe it's calling somebody back in a week, or it's remembering to do a quote or submit something by a certain time?
Yeah, this has all got to do with memory techniques. So you can apply the strategies for that. So, for example, if you need to remember to get bread on the way home, right? Then on your way home, what does that look like? Well, what is a trigger point that's going to help you? So for me, for example, it might be passing by, I live next to a cemetery. So it might be as soon as I drive past the cemetery, that's going to be my trigger to go and get bread, because the bakery might be, 200 meters down, from the cemetery. So I might make a connection now, as I drive past the cemetery, a dead person throws, from the ground, throws a piece of bread into my head. Right. So I might visualize that. So as I'm driving, I've got no clue, right? This story is going to happen. As soon as I drive past it, then bang, bread hits me in the head. I'm like, hang on, what's going on? Because I'm looking at the cemetery, right? I can't not look at it. I drive past it, and I think, okay, cemetery. I remember the bread hitting me. I have to go get bread. Right. So it's giving yourself little trigger points to do it. It's no good once you get home to create an association, because you're already home, right? So you have to do it from beforehand. Same thing with, making the phone calls or meetings or quotes. You can make your own story. And this is what I mean by memory training, is the more you train, the better these stories get, and the longer the recall is as well.
You're certainly very creative. Driving past the cemetery and a dead person throws a piece of bread at you. Very creative.
As they do.
I can only imagine what's inside your head, Tansel. I can only imagine.
That's the brain.
Now, you think anybody can do this?
Yeah, look, I mean, I've worked with literally thousands of people, and I haven't found anyone that couldn't do it. And I've worked with, really, really difficult when I say difficult people, not angry and messed up, but people that just couldn't learn, had problems, and they ended up getting, really high scores in certain exams and stuff that they went into. So yeah, if you've got an imagination, you can do it. Because when we think of memory, we think of repetition, right? And because that's all we're taught at school, rote learning. But when we're talking about it now, it's all about visualization and imagination. And that's something anyone can do. If you can imagine, you can have an amazing memory. That's all it is. All we're doing now, instead of repeating, we're creating these silly, fun stories. And now suddenly memorizing becomes fun. Now, who doesn't want to have fun and, improve their learning and their skill set and, workload and make more money at the same time? I mean, it's a huge turnaround from rote learning.
Yeah, and very helpful, of course, if you're doing some sort of study. I mean, you said you went through yourself and did some degrees. Did your MBA and a degree in IT or something?
Yeah, I did a Master in Information Systems because I've already had an interest and worked in the IT industry for very long. So I thought I'd do that, and MBA, as you do, 2 masters together.
Well, when you've got an amazing memory, why not?
It was more to sort of test myself, really, and obviously, I enjoy the learning as well. You learn so much along the way on what works and what doesn't, because a lot of people, when they start memory, and this will be hopefully good advice for people listening, is once you learn these techniques, you just go out and do it. But the problem is that these techniques may not work for certain things or may not be relevant. So, for example, you're listening to you're in a meeting or you're in a class or something like that, and you're trying to memorize everything. Well, that's not the best thing to do, because your brain will explode. So you want to write the important things down and take effective notes rather than memorize. So little things like that, you start to learn and understand that what's the real value of these techniques and strategies, and how can I best use them. And I think once you know how to best use these techniques, then the real benefits kick in. Because at the start, all you're trying to do is just use them. And that's because it's really easy to get this information from the net, from books and everything.
Mm. Now, you said you started doing this 15 years ago because you had, that you didn't believe it yourself. But 15 years ago, would you have said that you had the ability to memorise 2,000 businesses in the Sydney Yellow Pages, or would it have taken you 5 years or 10 years? When did you get to that point?
Oh, look, I never really questioned it, to be honest, because I knew the techniques work. So it's just a matter of timing, really. That's all it was. And I just had to have time to memorize it. I never actually even thought about, what if I forget, or what if I'm unable to do it? That wasn't even on my head. And because, I've done this many times at, shorter times, durations, like 5 minutes, 10 minutes in competition, but, memorizing for 24 days, again, different timing, but the technique and effort was the same. So as long as I did the same thing, I knew I'd be right. And that's what happened. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty amazing talent, isn't it? It's I could see so many applications for it in a business sense and in a personal sense where it would help you. I can only imagine that the people that you've worked with have been grateful that they've got this skill. The people that you went through and did those 2 degrees with, you said some of those people, you were teaching these people during that time frame. How quickly did they pick that up, and how quickly did they see results in their, in what they were doing?
Yeah, good question, because some people might take longer than others, but generally it's, like I said, it's not rocket science. It's about learning the techniques, and usually, in a few, sessions or something like that, in a couple of hours, it's done and dusted, and the rest is all about practice and execution of your skills. And as you're practicing, that's when you're learning what works, what doesn't work, and that's what my coaching is based on. That's why I don't do many lessons with people, because they just get it straight away. And now it's about, okay, how can I have that impact in life rather than just doing and putting out fires, because that's what we tend to do is like homework is just do to give back rather than learn, right? At work is just, I'll just do this task. Well, what about everything else that needs to be done at a higher level, or change of perceptions, or change of management, things like that, to improve, like I said before, leadership skills and listening. And so we don't even get to the next level. So once you know how to use these skills effectively, then you can get to that next level.
Yeah, amazing stuff. So, Tansel, if I was going to start learning and I go, yep, I've heard this podcast, and now I want to start working and training my brain to be better at memorizing things. Is there a certain place to start that's easier than others? Like, I mean, you use deck of cards as an example. Is that a good place to start training your brain, or is it with people's names, or is it with remembering the bread? Where would you suggest?
Remembering the bread, you like that, don't you?
I do like that one. Every time I go past the cemetery now, you know who I'm going to think of, don't you?
It's just yeah, you might be buying a lot of bread later.
I'll be sending it to you, mate.
That's it. I'm set for life now. Good stuff. All right. So what I'd suggest with people is, look at their motivations. Why they'd want to do it. Obviously, it's not for everyone. Right, you can be happy, totally without it. I totally understand that, but if you really want to get into it, then I'd start with reading the books on memory. I started with Tony Buzan's "Use Your Memory" book. That was amazing because I was never a big reader, so the easy language made it easy for me to learn memory. He's also got a book called the Speed Reading Book, which was amazing because I never read. This book helped me to reread again, which is fantastic, and helped me write books as well. So, which is The Yellow Elephant, which is my memory book, and How to Learn Almost Anything in 48 Hours. There's a lot of books out there, but I'd suggest reading the books. There's a lot of articles. I mean, I write lessons on my websites now that are totally free, and that's because I believe that this information has to be shared. So as many people can share this knowledge as possible, then I think more people will be able to benefit as well. So I guess online and books is a good start. And then from there, if people want to take it to the next level, that's when you go to courses and coaching and things like that. So, yeah.
Great stuff. Well, that's a good segue because we're just about out of time, Tansel. But so how can people get more? Where is your website and how can they reach you?
Yeah, they can reach me on tanselali.com. So that's my website, or just search on Tansel Ali. I guess a few websites will come up. They can just contact me through email, and I'm happy to sort of chat to people and give them ideas and strategies and whatnot. Because that's what we do. And look, there's not just me either. There's so many other people out there. As long as people are researching and doing something to better themselves, they'll find the answer. And that's what I found with myself as well. As long as I'm moving forward in this personal development space, there's something always there. So, I wish everyone good luck, and hopefully they'll really benefit from these skills.
Yeah, great stuff. Now, I'd normally put all the links and all the books and stuff we spoke about in the show notes in case people forgot them. But maybe that should be their first test. I'm not going to bother. No, we will. We'll put them in the show notes. Episode 147, go to businessbrainfood.com.au, episode 147. All the links to Tansel's sites and social media will be there, along with links to his books and the other books that he mentioned. So if you want to learn how to remember more, then you can. But test yourself. Maybe don't go to the website and see if you can remember what he said. What do you think of that? Is that a good first test, Tansel?
Oh, yeah, it's always a good test. It's actually one of the reasons why I named my first book The Yellow Elephant, because it goes into an image straight away. So if I wrote a book like, How to Learn Almost Anything in 48 Hours, if I use that as my first book title, because words are just abstract, you don't remember it.
Yeah.
Right? But Yellow Elephant, if I say that, then you'll start picturing the yellow elephant. So, just the book title itself is a memory technique. So that's one of the reasons why I named it The Yellow Elephant.
Well, I'm sure that's the first book they're going to get now because you're right, it does. As soon as you say it, I see a picture of a bloody yellow elephant in my head. So there you go.
Yeah, hopefully not a bloody one. But,
Oh dear, oh dear. I'm sure. I'm loving this chat. We could chat for a long time, no doubt. There's so many. I could see so many rabbit holes we could go down where all these techniques would help business owners. But we are out of time. But so thankful, so grateful, Tansel, that you've come on the Business Brain Food podcast today and shared your talent with us.
No, I appreciate it, Steve. Thank you. Sorry, Ben.
That never gets old, that one, I'm sure. All right, there's only one thing left to do, and that's the 60-second scramble. Are you ready for that?
Okay, I'll try to be.
I'm going to ask you to remember phone numbers from the yellow pages. No, just kidding. All right, here we go. The favourite app on your phone?
Kindle.
Do you have a hidden talent?
I can juggle.
If you could be any animal, what would you be and why?
Oh, dear me.
A yellow elephant?
Yellow elephant, that's right.
What's the strangest thing you've ever eaten? Don't say yellow elephant.
No, it was a green elephant, I think. No, only kidding. Strangest thing. Oh, duck.
Do you have a favourite inspirational quote?
No.
No? Okay. What's your biggest addiction?
Food.
Yeah, well, that's one of mine. What's your favourite drink?
Water.
Have you got a mentor that you look up to that keeps inspiring you day by day?
Yeah, definitely a number of them. Yeah.
Any that you want to mention?
Yeah, Mark Dobson, Dobbo, is a inspirational sort of speaker and coach and whatnot. And Janos Tanas, my university sort of mentor, business mentor, is amazing individual.
Nice stuff, mate. Well, once again, thanks so much for coming on the Brain Food Podcast. I'm super glad you remembered to turn up. That's a plus.
Yeah, no, it's good. I got your reminders, so thanks for reminding me.
Anytime. All the best, mate, and well done on those championships. And I'm sure you're going to go to win many more. It was great to talk to you. Cheerio.
Thanks, Ben. Cheers.
Business Brain Food.
Well, there you go. Hopefully you haven't forgot too much so far. If you didn't take down notes and you were thinking about how can I remember all these things, we'll never ever forget about the yellow elephant. I'm sure you'll find that book fairly straightforward. All the other links, though, I will put into the show notes because I know that you haven't started training yourself to remember all of these things. So they'll be in the show notes. Go to businessbrainfood.com.au. And this is episode 147. You'll find all the links in the show notes. I hope you enjoyed that one as much as I did. Really, really enjoy having people like Tansel on the show because it's a unique skill that I know can help a lot of us, do better. And even if it just declutters your brain a little bit, even if you just harness a small percentage of the skill and it declutters your brain, reduces your stress slightly and makes your life a little bit easier, then it's been worthwhile. That is for sure. Alrighty, now as we wrap up, I just want to let you know about a couple of things. The first one is that in a few weeks' time, I'll be doing a tour on the eastern seaboard of Australia. So I'll be in Sydney, Brisbane and Melbourne doing my business fast track event. So if you missed it last quarter, I'm doing it again. Really popular 3-hour workshop. It's free for you to come along. It's not just a 3-hour sales pitch. I know a lot of people are scared to come to free events these days, but my events are jam-packed with value. I don't hold back. It's your opportunity to meet me, meet the team, and understand what it is we do and how we help you build the business you imagined. And what I mean by that is when you started your business, you started it with a list of goals that you wanted to achieve, whether it was work more efficiently, so work less hours, make more money, be your own boss, have some more freedom, choose who you wanted to work, whatever your goals were at the beginning, whatever you imagined your business to be, we help you build that. Because I know in a lot of cases, and the statistics show us that 80% of businesses don't make it. So rather than be one of those or one of the businesses that make up that statistic, how about you do something about it? Come along to this free event and see whether or not we can help you. Now, if you want to get tickets to that, it's quite simple. They are limited, so you need to jump in fast. Go to businessfasttrack, all one word, .com.au. That's businessfasttrack.com.au. I hope to see you at one of those events. Once again, gang, thanks so much for listening into today's episode. I love you for that. I love the fact that we can hang out every single week. I hope you enjoyed that episode as much as I did. Until next week, I wish you a very, very profitable day. Cheerio.